Because the subplot of my novel Betrayed was set in the land of Palestine, or Canaan as it was in biblical times, I had to do an awful lot of research on the area, and I knew absolutely nothing about it, so it meant an awful lot of trips to the British Museum, delving around in libraries. I'd actually broken my foot at the time I was doing the research, which was quite fortuitous, because all I could do was sit on the sofa with my leg raised up. I couldn't even do any writing because my desk didn't have a bar to raise the foot, and there just happened to be loads and loads of programmes on ancient Canaan and on present day Palestine, so that served me in very good stead when I finally came to write the novel. I was struck by the brutality of the invasion of Jericho as told in the Bible, and I wanted to tell my story from the point of view of the Canaanites, the indigenous inhabitants of Jericho. And when I came on to the main plot, which is set in modern-day West Bank and Jerusalem, inevitably I had to research the whole conflict which is going on in the area. And I knew absolutely nothing about it at first. I grew up in Surrey, reading the Daily Mail and seeing the constant fighting going on the television. And I think, like an awful lot of people, I probably thought, well, it's just, one of those things that goes on and both sides are just as bad as each other. It just seems to be constant fighting. But then in the year 2000, when I really came to look into it, I came to it with a completely open mind, and I started off on a tourist guide of Israel. And I thought, oh, yeah, this is a really interesting country. I'd like to know a bit more about it, the greening of the desert and the kibbutz movements. It sounds fascinating. And then I got onto this little bit about the Palestinians, and I thought, these people have been rather badly treated. And then I went on to another tourist guide of Israel, and the same thing happened. Yeah, very interesting. And then the Palestinians, and oh my God, these people have been really badly treated. And then by the time I got onto the third and fourth book, I thought, my God, these people have been absolutely shafted. It's abysmal what's happened to them, the way they've been dispossessed of their land. And it struck me how the ancient invasion of Jericho by the Hebrew army led by Joshua, according to the book of Joshua in the Bible, ran very much parallel to the modern day creation of the Jewish state and the displacement of the Palestinians from their ancestral lands. It all came down to religion. For example, Joshua's invasion of Jericho was legitimised by apparently his God saying, basically, you have the right to the land of milk and honey, just go in and slaughter every man, woman and child and all the animals as well, and the land belongs to you because you're the chosen people. And I thought, that's not terribly nice, really. What about the poor Canaanites? They were living there quite happily, quite peacefully, and then along comes Joshua's army and the whole lot of them are slaughtered, except for Rahab's family, the prostitute who betrayed the city to Joshua, who was very likely a high-class temple prostitute because the Canaans had male and female prostitutes as part of their sacred rituals in their temples. So she was probably quite a high-class citizen. And the Bible seems to imply that she was the one in the family who had all the power, although it was a patriarchal society. Rahab is the one who decides who comes into the house, although it seems that there are male relatives of hers who are still living, her father, possibly her grandfather. Rahab's the one who has the power, and she was the one who betrayed the city. So that really interested me, and this perspective of telling the story from the Canaanite point of view, i.e. the younger sister of Rahab, and this fury that she would have felt about her sister betraying the city and leading to the slaughter of everyone she knew. And then that struck me how similar that is to this modern day idea that of extreme Zionism, whereby the Jews and only the Jews have got the right to live in the Holy Land. And it led me to research the history and to see how the Palestinians after 1948 had basically been terrorised out of their villages. They'd been living there for centuries. At the turn of the 20th century, the whole land of Palestine, going from southern Lebanon all down the banks of the Mediterranean, down as far as the Sinai Peninsula, up to the banks of the Jordan, that was all Palestine. The modern-day Palestinians occupied that land quite happily, along with Jews, Muslims. Everyone was living in harmony side by side until the Allies decided to create this Jewish state. And of course, since then, the Palestinians have been terrorised into just moving into the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip, and the settlements have continued to be built even in those areas, pushing the Palestinians further and further into tiny strips of land. It's absolutely appalling. So as I wrote my novel, these parallels became more and more with this awful invasion and slaughter of the city of Jericho in Canaanite times, and the situation of the modern-day Palestinians pushed further and further out of their land, all in the name of religion. And those two stories basically form the subject matter of my novel, Betrayed, a story of Palestine, past and present.